बोलिए सतगुरु महाराज की जय, सच्चे दरबार की जय. Thank you everyone for connecting with us for today's discourse. On behalf of Divine Light World, I'd like to wish all the mothers and everyone who plays that role in someone's life a very, very happy Mother's Day. I believe with each passing generation, it is getting harder and harder to raise conscious and empathetic children. The COVID pandemic has made this role even tougher. You're not only managing your own work, but their online schooling. You're filling the role of their math teacher, of their soccer coach, let alone their meals and snacks and keeping them entertained. So I want everyone to pause for a moment. Find your mother or whoever plays that motherly role in your life and give them a big hug and say thank you. Mothers, to help your lives become a little easier, I'm here to share a few tips that you can incorporate into your daily routines, into your daily lives, to help your children grow and flourish. With the COVID pandemic and the lockdowns and everyone being confined into their homes, the children are no doubt glued to their screens. And there's a growing concern that the next generation of children would lack empathy, would have trouble expressing emotions and knowing how to behave in situations. So the first tip is to create an open space. With children not being able to go to schools, hang out with their friends, go spend time in playgrounds or playing sports, there is this sense of confinement, of limitation that is overcoming them. So dedicate some area in your house, whether it's a room, whether it's a corner of a room, some space that's considered the open space. And on a daily basis, let your children have open hour, which is 1 or 2 hours that they spend in this open space, where they're free to do whatever they wish. Jump around, hop around, they can create a mess if they want. For those times, for that open hour or open hours, just let them do what they want to do. I know we all have rules in our house of where things go, of keeping things neat and tidy. But just for this open hour on a daily basis, and only in their open space, let them do whatever they wish. Don't worry about the mess. Don't worry about them hurting themselves. Their smiles and their laughters in the long run hold more importance. When dogs are really hyper or extremely tired, they do this thing that's called zoomies, where they just run here and there or run around in circles with no speed. And in those moments, the owners just ensure that they have enough space so that they don't harm themselves or they don't hurt themselves. And once they're done their zoomie, they're calm, they're relaxed, and they can take a little nap. Give your children that same space for that hour where they can do whatever they wish. They can let all that excess energy out of their systems. What they would normally expend at a playground, let them do it in their open space. So incorporate open hour into your daily routine on a daily basis. The second is create a check-in time. This is time where the whole family sits together and checks in with one another. an open space for them to share their feelings. Share how they feel that day. Share how the pandemic is making them feel. Share how this different lifestyle is affecting them. And you as parents, share how you feel as well. Maybe share with them that you're concerned how your mother is doing because you're unable to see your parents. When you share how you feel, that will open the ground up for them to share how they feel. We spend constant amount of energy on ensuring that our children's IQ is great. But this act of checking in and sharing emotions and feeling in a non-judgmental space will raise their emotional quotient, their EQ, which is more important in order to grow, flourish, and survive in this world today. And ensure that you're not telling your children how to feel in this check-in time. That you're just letting them express, letting them share how they feel, trying not to give them solutions, trying not to tell them how they should feel or how they should react, but just holding space for them where they can share how they feel. Because when it comes to emotions, brothers and sisters, there is 3 ways in which they are expressed. The first is repression. When a child experiences something, most often when boys want to cry, the first thing we are triggered to say to them is stop crying. But the truth is that this causes them to repress how they feel. And over time, as they get into adulthood, these emotions that have been repressed for so many years will come out in some form or another. If they're not dealt with right now, then they will have to be dealt with in the future. And over time, another way that children and individuals express their emotions is anger, where they build up these emotions for so long that they lash out in rage, in anger, maybe hitting someone, maybe yelling, screaming, throwing a tantrum. And if this form of emotion, expressing emotions, carries with them into their future, then it results in violence. And the third and the most effective way is expression. So letting them express their emotions, letting them feel how they feel without feeling a sense of guilt, without being made to feel that they are wrong of how they're feeling, but just letting them express openly. This will help your children become empathetic individuals. They will not only understand but empathize with the pain and suffering of their peers, of their loved ones. If you start holding this space for them, tomorrow they will hold this space for you and for their loved ones and their peers as well. The third is helping your child find their inner genius. Pablo Picasso said that my mother said, if you are a soldier, then you will become a general. If you think you are a monk, then you will become the Pope. And he says, I was a painter, so I became Picasso. His mother constantly encouraged him to strive to be better, to tap into his potential. Being a genius does not mean being the smartest kid in class, but being a genius means being in alignment with the whole of yourself. Each and every child has an inner genius waiting to be tapped into. And the earlier, the sooner we can equip the children, we can encourage them to tap into this potential of theirs, the more fruitful their journey of life will become. In today's day and age, we are manufacturing cyber zombies. We go from computer screens to video games to scrolling feeds to watching TV. These continuous distractions provide us with instant pleasure. When we receive a text or when we win one level of the game. And it is this instant pleasure that we constantly seek that leads us down the path of destructions. And it becomes our habit because we're constantly seeking this pleasure, leading to an addiction before we know it. Studies have shown that these constant distractions that constantly stimulate the mind, they block our creativity. They inhibit our cognitive functioning. So brothers and sisters, protect your children's cognitive abilities. Go back to the old times where we played board games physically and not on our devices, where we painted with brushes and paper and not an app, paint by numbers or happy colors, where we read physical books, holding books in our hand, where we wrote with a pencil instead of typing on our devices. Reduce your dependency on your devices and go back to these old ways to strengthen your cognitive abilities, to strengthen the cognitive functionings in your minds, and finding your inner genius, tapping into your complete potential, discovering and being aligned with who you fully are. Research suggests that technology is influencing our attention span, reducing it from 12 to 18 seconds. And over the past year, it has been found that the sale of video games has increased 23%. And the sale of games on iPhones and Androids has increased 44%. Let's stop for a moment and understand what happens when we play video games. As we play these video games, they release a constant supply of dopamine. Dopamine, which is a feel-good hormone that makes us feel pleasure, makes us feel joy. And as we play these video games for hours on end, then nothing seems exciting in life that is not as stimulating as the video games. Then it's hard to do our everyday things. Something simple as taking a shower or changing our clothes or dressing ourselves and looking nice. Simple things like that, eating meals on time. Since they're not as stimulating as our video games, they don't seem like they hold any importance. It's hard to carry out those activities because the brain gets used to this constant supply of dopamine, that it continues to play video games so that we continue to receive this constant supply and continue to feel good, leading us to an addiction. There was a study done with 18 college students who spent 10 hours a day playing video games, and compared to a control group who only spent 2 hours online. And it was found that those who spent 10 hours a day playing video games, that their gray matter was reduced considerably. This gray matter that is responsible for the thinking part of our brain. That part that enables us to think between right and wrong, that enables us to make decisions in our life. That was affected by the constant hours spent in front of the television playing video games. That is why back in the 1990s, brothers and sisters, scientists had said that because playing video games only stimulate those parts of the brain that are connected with vision and movement, that the rest of the parts, behavior, learning, and emotion, can become underdeveloped. So what do we do in this day and age? A simple solution is setting time limits. Setting time limits of your playtime that you spend playing your video games. And say you play video games for 20 minutes, then spend double that time outside in nature to counteract that effect. So if you're spending 20 minutes playing your video games, then spend 40 minutes outside in nature. The fourth is normalize silence. Do you find that from the moment you wake up to the moment you hit the bed at night, and sometimes even while you're sleeping, that you're constantly bombarded with noise? Whether it's the radio, whether it's conversations happening around you, whether it's something playing on the television in the background while you're trying to work, or music that you're listening to while you're trying to finish an assignment. We're constantly bombarded with noise. And it is found that it is this noise that continuously releases stress hormones within us. A study was done in 2013 on mice to understand the effects of sound and silence on the brains of the mice. And what the scientists found was surprising. They found that if the mice spent 2 hours in silence on a daily basis, new cells were born within their hippocampus. That part of the brain that's connected to memory, emotion, and learning. We live in a culture where we're constantly bombarded with noise. It has been said that noise has a profound physical effect on the brain, resulting in elevated levels of stress hormones. The sound waves reach the brain as electrical signals via the ear. And this stimulates the amygdala. Even when we're sleeping, if we're listening to music, this activates the amygdala, which causes it to release stress hormones. Noise harms our task performance, whether it's at work or at school. The cognitive functionalities that are most affected by noise are reading attention, memory, and problem solving. Some pretty important functionalities that are needed in order to function in the world today. Silence, on the other hand, has the complete opposite effect. A study that was published in the journal Heart says that 2 minutes of silence proved to be more relaxing than listening to relaxing music. And they based this by checking blood pressure readings, the blood circulation to the brain. And it was seen that it resulted in less stress hormones being released. So normalize the silence. In this world of noise, instill few moments throughout the day that are your silent moments. And everyone, as a family, engage in these silent moments where you're not doing anything, you're not talking with one another, you're not listening to background noise, but you are just sitting there being with your breath. And do short intervals, even if it's a few minutes, but throughout the day. Start your children on a meditation practice. The younger they start, the more beneficial it will be for them. They'll get comfortable with being with themselves. They won't be bored every time they're not doing anything. This practice of meditation, this practice of embracing silence for a few moments throughout the day will make them mentally resilient. So for all the mothers out there and the children, these simple techniques, one, creating an open space and having an open hour where the children can do whatever they wish in that hour, in their open space. This will remove that sense of confinement and limitation, will help them be more open. Creating a check-in time on a daily basis where the entire family shares how they feel in a non-judgmental space, where you just hold the space for one another and let each individual share and express how they feel. Third, helping your children find their inner genius, protecting their cognitive abilities, trying to reduce as much time that they're spending on the screen and counteracting that time with time spent in nature. And fourth, normalizing the silence. Enabling yourselves and your children to be okay to sit in silence, so that this practice of meditation, of enabling yourselves to focus on your breath, will make you mentally resilient. On that note, we'll conclude today's discourse. Once again, wishing all the mothers a very, very happy and blessed Mother's Day. Till next time, stay safe. God bless.